What if the penny you dropped in a grocery store parking lot back in 2009 is now worth over $3,000? Yes, you heard me right. A single Lincoln penny, 1 cent, could be the key to a hidden treasure. But there's a twist. It doesn't have a mint mark. And most people spent it without ever realizing what they had. Let me tell you about Margaret, a retired schoolteacher from Ohio. She kept an old coffee can of pennies under her kitchen sink, a habit her husband had started back in the 60s. One rainy afternoon, she was sorting through the coins with her grandson, teaching him how to spot wheat pennies, just a little bonding moment across generations. That's when he held one up and said, "Grandma, this one looks different. It doesn't have a letter under the date." She almost dismissed it. Just another penny, right? But something told her to look it up. And what she discovered would change how she saw every coin in that can. That penny was a 2009 Lincoln bicentennial cent, without a mint mark. Specifically, the formative years, reverse design, featuring young Abe Lincoln sitting on a log, reading a book. In 2009, the U.S. Mint released 4 different reverse designs to celebrate Lincoln's 200th birthday. Most were struck in Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, or San Francisco, S. But a very limited batch of 2009 Lincoln cents were struck with unusual errors, and no mint mark, making them extremely rare. Some are off-center. Some have doubled features. Some are missing critical elements. Collectors prize them, not just for the error, but for the story they tell: a humble beginning, a powerful legacy, and a coin minted during the Great Recession, when people stopped paying attention to small change. Thousands of these coins were spent unknowingly at gas stations, corner stores, and vending machines. One man even used his rare 2009 cent to buy a stick of gum. Can you imagine trading away a $3,000 collector's item for juicy fruit? Don't let that be your story. Before you go digging through your jars or drawers, here's what to look for. Under the date, completely blank. Formative years, shows Lincoln on a log reading a book, doubling in the lettering, missing features. Or off-center strike. If you think you found one, don't guess. Get it verified by a professional, PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, or visit a reputable local coin dealer. They'll grade it, authenticate it, and if it's the real deal, help you cash in. That old coffee can in your garage, that dusty jar behind the cereal boxes, it might not just be full of spare change, it might be full of stories, and second chances. Because sometimes, life hides its most precious moments in the smallest things. What if a single penny from your childhood, the kind you found in couch cushions or gave to the ice cream man, could be worth thousands today? And what if you already had it, but spent it without knowing? Let me take you back to a quiet summer afternoon in 1975. James, a retired steelworker from Ohio, was cleaning out his late mother's home. In a rusted coffee tin tucked deep inside an old bread box, he found dozens of Lincoln pennies, dusty, brown, ordinary. He almost threw them out. Almost, but one coin caught his eye: no mint mark, 1966, and unusually sharp features. He kept it for no reason other than it reminded him of his father. Years later, his grandson, a budding coin collector, would discover the shocking truth: that little coin, saved out of love and memory, was now worth a small fortune. So what's the story with the 1966 no mint mark Lincoln cent? Here's the scoop: in 1965, 1966, and 1967, the U.S. Mint intentionally left off all mint marks to discourage coin hoarding during a national coin shortage. So yes, every 1966 penny has no mint mark, but here's where things get really interesting. Some 1966 pennies were struck using older or misaligned dies, creating errors like double dies, off-center strikes, and abnormally sharp details. And when these rare errors combine with high-grade condition, the value can skyrocket. Some have sold for over $5,000 at auction. In 2012, a woman in Arizona found a near-mint 1966 penny with a doubled Liberty. She showed it to a dealer, but didn't think much of it. She left it behind. That same coin showed up 2 years later in a private sale, appraised at over $4,800. The worst part? She'd kept it for 40 years. Let that sink in. How many coins have you let slip through your hands? Want to know if you have a hidden treasure? Here's what to check: there should be no mint mark. That's normal for this year. Check for doubling, especially the success, any doubling or distortion the edges. Is the strike off center? Check Lincoln Memorial lines. They should be sharp, and even if you think you've got something special, don't guess, send it to a professional grader like PCGS or NGC. Even local coin dealers can give a preliminary opinion, but grading changes everything. A verified error in mint state. That could be your next vacation, or even your retirement boost. We all have that one coffee jar, that dusty drawer, filled with change we've ignored for decades, but inside it could be a memory, or a miracle, that penny from your childhood. It might just hold your future. What if a single penny, maybe one you gave to a grandchild, or dropped into a change jar decades ago, could now be worth over $7,000? Yes, a single copper penny, from the year 1967, with no mint mark. Most people don't know this, but one of the most mysterious and quietly valuable coins in American history might already be in your home, tucked away, forgotten. Let me take you back. It's 1967. The Beatles are on the radio. The world is changing. And across America, small hands were dropping Lincoln pennies into piggy banks, never suspecting that a few of those pennies held a secret. A man named Harold, a retired machinist from Ohio, was rolling up change from an old drawer in 2003, just to take it to the bank. But something made him pause. One coin felt different. It was darker, smoother, familiar, but off. That 1967 penny, with no mint mark, later sold at auction for thousands of dollars. Why? Because sometimes, the rarest treasures are the ones that seem most ordinary. Now here's what makes the 1967 no mint mark Lincoln penny so special. In 1965, the U.S. Mint suspended mint marks to stop coin hoarding, so technically, 1967 pennies shouldn't have mint marks, but that's not what makes some of them valuable. The real value comes from errors and variations. Coins struck with misaligned dies, doubled images, or copper compositions that don't match the norm. A few 1967 pennies were struck with dramatic doubling on Lincoln's profile or incredible red coloration. Those are the jackpot pieces. Others have die breaks, missing letters, or anomalies that slipped past inspection during a time when quality control was stretched thin. I once met a woman at a coin show in Dallas who said, "My husband had a jar full of old pennies he saved for 40 years. When he passed, I just rolled them up and took them to the bank." You should have seen her face when I showed her a photo of a 1967 penny that sold for $7,050. She whispered, "I swear we had one that looked just like that." Don't let that be your story. No mint mark should be blank under the date. Look for doubling, especially on Liberty or Lincoln's eye and jaw. Check for odd texture or cracks, die breaks or strange lines. Color counts. A brilliant, red penny, uncirculated, is worth more. Think you found one? Send it to a reputable grader like PCGS or NGC, or take it to a trusted coin dealer in your area. They'll examine it under magnification, check for known varieties, and give you a professional opinion. Listen, that little jar on your shelf? The one that's been there since your kids were young. It's not just spare change, it's a time capsule. A treasure chest, hiding in plain sight. What if a single penny, yes, just one humble cent, hiding in your old coin jar, could be worth thousands today? And what if it was from the very year your grandkids were born? Or the last year you held your father's hand at the county fair? This isn't just a coin, it's a time capsule. Today, we're diving into the mystery of the 1968 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that could change how you look at your pocket change forever. Harold Mitchell, a retired railroad worker from Ohio, had a habit of tossing his spare change into a worn mason jar each evening. Nothing fancy, just pocket change from a day's work. One rainy afternoon, decades later, his granddaughter was helping clean out the attic and stumbled on that dusty jar. Among dozens of ordinary pennies, one stood out, slightly smoother, darker, almost whispering of its journey. Curious, she posted a photo online. Within a week, collectors were offering $5,000 all for a coin she almost threw into a Coinstar machine. So, what's so special about the 1968 no mint mark Lincoln penny? Here's the thing. In 1968, most pennies were minted in Denver, with a little D under the date, or in San Francisco for proofs, marked S. But the Philadelphia Mint, which usually didn't use a mint mark on pennies, wasn't supposed to be distributing regular 1968 cents widely that year. That means, if you find a 1968 penny with no mint mark, and it's not a proof coin, you might just have a rare error or a transitional oddity that collectors are desperately seeking. What makes it valuable? It's not just rarity, it's mystery. Some believe a small batch of coins meant for test strikes or internal use accidentally made it into public circulation. And in the world of coins, accidents mean treasure. Just last year, a man in Florida shared his story online. He remembered seeing a 1968 no-mint mark penny in his collection years ago, didn't think much of it, and used it to buy gumballs for his grandson. That he said it himself, it was just a penny. But it could have been my grandson's college fund. Don't let your story become that story. No mint mark below the date, no D or S, not a proof coin, should have a standard finish, not a shiny mirror surface. Flip the coin, check Lincoln's shoulder and back for sharp detail. A worn-down proof might be misleading. Test the weight if possible. It should be about 3.11 grams, not zinc. If you think you found one, don't guess. Send it to PCGS or NGC, two trusted coin grading services. Or bring it to a reputable coin dealer for an expert opinion, and never clean it first. That could lower its value instantly. Maybe it's in that coffee can on your shelf, maybe it's been sitting in your sock drawer for 40 years, waiting. That penny isn't just copper, it's a story, a legacy, a forgotten piece of America. What if a single penny you forgot in a coffee can could be worth thousands today? You heard me right. One ordinary-looking Lincoln cent from 1968, the kind you may have tossed into a drawer decades ago, could hold a secret that turns pocket change into life-changing treasure. Picture this. It's 1970. A young boy named Henry helps his grandfather sweep out the old general store before it's sold off. As a thank you, Grandpa lets him scoop up a handful of pennies from the register. Keep the shiny ones, he says. Years later, that same boy, now a retired man himself, finds the jar buried deep in a closet. Most of the coins are nothing special, but one catches his eye. 1968 D. Still gleaming. Still sharp. He sends it in for appraisal on a whim. Turns out, that single penny, forgotten for over 50 years, was worth more than $5,000. And here's the thing, there are more out there. Maybe in your home right now. So, what makes the 1968 D Lincoln penny so special? It's not just the date. It's a combination of rarity, error, and history. In 1968, the U.S. Mint transitioned from using proof coins struck in Philadelphia to those struck in San Francisco. But a tiny number of Denver coins, with the D mint mark, were accidentally struck using a proof die meant for another mint. That makes them error coins, and error coins are highly collectible. Some of these 1968 D pennies show sharper detail, mirror-like surfaces, and unusual minting quirks, making them extremely rare. One in pristine condition sold for thousands at auction. Now, let me tell you about Margaret from Ohio. She found a shoebox of her late husband's coins, many from the 60s. Without thinking, she took the whole lot to the bank. Just wanted to clear space. A week later, she saw a story online about the 1968 D penny. To this day, she wonders if she let a small fortune slip through her fingers. Don't let that be your story. Here's what to check for in your old coins. Date must be 1968. Look for the D mint mark just below the date. Flip the coin. Sharp, reflective surfaces may mean a proof die was used. Check for unusual details like doubling, a slight echo or blur in the letters. What if a single penny you tossed into a jar back in 1968 is now worth thousands, even tens of thousands, and you never knew? Or worse, what if you spent it without a second thought? Decades ago? This isn't a myth. It's real. And it's all about the mysterious 1968 S Lincoln cent, a coin that could change your story. I want you to imagine this. It's 1993. A man named Robert in Northern California is helping his mother move. In the back of her kitchen cupboard sits an old ceramic cookie jar. Inside, not cookies, but a forgotten stash of pennies. Some wheat cents, some newer. Nothing fancy, but one penny catches his eye. It's dated 1968. He notices a tiny S below the date. Something about it feels different. He tucks it into his shirt pocket. Years later, out of curiosity, he shows it to a local coin dealer. The man's hands tremble. "Do you know what you have here?" he says. "That penny, that forgotten, dusty cent from a kitchen jar, was worth over $10,000. So what makes this little coin so special? Well, the 1968 Lincoln penny was minted in San Francisco. That's what the S stands for. But here's the catch. It was only supposed to be released as part of special proof sets, not for general circulation, but somehow, through mistake, accident, or mystery, a few of these coins made it into the public's hands as business strikes, meaning regular coins used for spending. Even more intriguing? Some of these coins show strong doubling, a rare mint error where letters or numbers appear doubled, especially on Liberty or In God We Trust. That's called a double die obverse, and that's what collectors go wild for. There's a heartbreaking story I still think about. A retired schoolteacher from Nebraska called into a radio show in 2005. She'd saved pennies with her students for decades. She said she remembered a 1968 penny with an S, and thought the date looked funny. But during a move, she donated the entire jar to a church fundraiser. A rare coin dealer later confirmed that same church auctioned off a 1968 double die for under $1.50. She missed her chance. Just like that. Want to know if you have one? Check your old jars, drawers, or coffee tins. Here's what to look for. Look for a small S mint mark under the date. Check for doubling on the words Liberty or In God We Trust. Look closely, especially with a magnifying glass. Coin should not have a mirrored proof finish. If it looks dull or circulated, that's even better. If you think you found one, don't guess. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate and grade your coin. Or visit a reputable local coin dealer. Just be sure they specialize in US era coins. What if I told you, a penny from your childhood, a single, worn Lincoln cent, could be worth over $100,000 today? Yes, 1 cent. The kind you used to flick across the floor or find buried between couch cushions. Let me take you back to 1989. A retired janitor named Harold was going through an old cigar box in his attic. He wasn't looking for treasure, just reliving memories. He found matchbooks, old stamps, and a handful of pennies. One caught his eye, a 1969 Lincoln cent with a small D mint mark beneath the date. It sat in his kitchen drawer for 7 more years. Then, one day at a coin show, he casually handed it to a dealer. The dealer's eyes widened. He called over 2 others. What Harold had was one of the rarest error coins in American history. So what made this penny so valuable? In 1969, a few pennies were struck with something called a double die, an error that causes the letters and date on the coin to appear doubled, like a ghostly shadow. But here's the twist. Almost all the known double die errors came from the Philadelphia Mint. Harold's coin had a D mint mark from the Denver Mint that was never supposed to happen. To this day, the 1969 D double die Lincoln cent remains one of the greatest mysteries in American numismatics. Some experts believe it was created by accident, others whisper about a rogue mint worker. Now here's where it hurts. A woman from Ohio once spent a rare 1969 D double die penny at a gas station. She thought it looked a little off, but didn't think much of it. The coin passed through 3 more hands before someone noticed. By then, it was scratched, worn down, its value slashed to a fraction of what it could have been. Don't let that be your story. Don't let a treasure pass through your hands unseen. Here's what to check in your own coin jars, drawers, or that dusty coffee tin in the garage. There must be a small D beneath the year Liberty, and In God We Trust will appear doubled. Very noticeably. Should be normal, no doubling on the back. Condition matters. Even a worn coin could be worth thousands. What if a penny from your pocket change, yes, just 1 cent, could be worth over $18,000 today? And what if you already spent it without ever knowing? Hold that thought, because the 1970 D Lincoln penny might just be the rarest treasure you never knew you had, and it could still be hiding in your childhood coin jar. let me take you back to the early 1980s. A retired railroad worker in Denver was going through his late father's belongings. In an old mason jar, covered in dust and time, he found a small stack of wheat pennies and copper cents. Among them, a plain-looking 1970 penny. It sat on his shelf for 2 decades. One day, just out of curiosity, he brought it to a local coin show. That worthless penny ended up being a rare double-die obverse, and it sold at auction for more than $3,000. That same coin today? One pristine version sold $4,18,000. All from a penny he almost threw away. So what's so special about this little coin? Here's what makes the 1970 Lincoln cent one of the most sought-after modern errors. It's not just about the date, it's about the error. Some coins minted in Denver that year were accidentally struck with a double-die obverse, meaning the front design, especially Liberty, and the date, 1970, looks like it's been stamped twice. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. This error makes the coin incredibly rare, and incredibly valuable to collectors. Here's the painful part. Thousands of these rare 1970 double-die pennies were likely spent, rolled into coin wrappers, or even cashed in at banks without a second thought. People passed them over because they just looked like regular pennies. One man in Illinois found his in a roll he bought for 50 cents. He sold it for nearly $10,000. Another lady? She'd kept one as a shiny copper penny from her dad. When she had it graded, over $12,500 in value, but how many more were lost forever? That's the heartbreak. Want to know if you have one? Here's what to check. Date must be 1970 mint mark D, just below the year. Look closely at Liberty and 1970. Are the letters or numbers slightly doubled? That's the key error. Use a magnifying glass. The doubling isn't always obvious at first glance. Flip it. The reverse should look normal. The error is on the front only. Think you found something? Don't guess, get it checked. Submit it to PCGS or NGC, 2 of the most trusted coin grading services in the world. Or take it to a reputable local dealer or coin show for an initial opinion. These experts can authenticate and grade your coin, and even help you sell it, if you choose. Now, think about it. That old coffee can in the attic, that drawer your grandkids play with, that dusty change jar in your kitchen. What if a single penny, one you might have dropped in a gumball machine as a kid, could be worth thousands today? Not a silver dollar, not a rare gold coin, just one humble copper penny from 1971. Pause, lean in closer to the mic, and here's the kicker: most people who had one, spent it without ever knowing. Back in the early 80s, a retired machinist named Harold was cleaning out his garage in Ohio. He came across a dusty mason jar filled with old pennies, a little treasure he'd been tossing coins into since 1959. One penny stood out. No mint mark, but it had the bold 1971 date. He didn't think much of it, dropped it into a Coinstar machine a week later. What Harold didn't know? That penny could have been worth over $3,000. A collector down the road found one just like it, except he had it appraised. It changed his retirement. Now, let's talk truth. The 1971 Lincoln penny was produced in massive numbers, over 1.5 billion. Most were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which, at the time, did not use a mint mark. So, why is it rare? It's not just the no mint mark. It's what happened during the striking process. There were several die errors, doubling in the lettering, and in extremely rare cases, a proof strike mistakenly released for circulation. Even more astonishing, some 1971 pennies show signs of a double die obverse, meaning Lincoln's face and the words, "In God We Trust," appear slightly doubled. Coins in near-perfect condition, especially with these errors, have fetched thousands at auction. A grandmother passes down a small box of coins to her grandson. Inside, a 1971 penny with no mint mark, slight doubling in the motto. The grandson, unaware, cashes it in at the grocery store to cover a candy bar. Just like that, a tiny piece of history, gone. Most folks don't know what to look for, and that's the tragedy. So many of these coins vanish every year, slipped through hands, lost in couch cushions, mistaken as pocket change. Here's how to know if you might have this treasure: no mint mark below the date, meaning it came from Philadelphia. look for doubling, especially in, coin must be in sharp condition, little to no wear. If it looks unusually shiny or reflective, it could be a proof strike. Even more valuable, think you found something? Get it checked, professionally, send it to PCGS. Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. Even a local coin dealer can give you a rough idea, but don't clean the coin. That can destroy its value. That old mason jar in your kitchen, the one your father kept by the window, it might just hold a piece of history. A story. A future you didn't know was waiting. So go check, dig through the coins, run your fingers over the copper, and remember, the past is still speaking to you. You just have to listen. What if a single penny from 1972, yes, a plain old Lincoln penny, could be worth thousands today? Imagine this, something you once dropped into a gumball machine, could now pay for a luxury vacation. And the craziest part? You might already have it, sitting quietly in an old jar, untouched for decades. Let me take you back. Picture this, it's the summer of 1973. A young boy in Indiana empties his piggy bank to buy his dad a Father's Day card. Among the pennies he counts out is one with no mint mark. Nothing special, he thinks. Years pass. That same penny finds its way into a coffee can, then a shoebox, and finally into a drawer in a dusty garage. Decades later, his granddaughter finds it while helping clean up. She takes it to a local coin show out of curiosity. The verdict? A 1972 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, worth over $10,000. So why is this tiny, copper coin worth so much? In 1972, the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln cents in Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Denver. Philadelphia coins usually had no mint mark. That's not unusual, but here's the twist. A small number of the 1972 Philadelphia pennies were struck with a dramatic double die error on the obverse. That's the front side, where Lincoln's face is. This doubling is so clear you can see it with the naked eye, especially on the date and the words Liberty and In God We Trust. It's not just a minor flaw, it's a masterpiece of mistake. Because so few were made and even fewer survived in good condition, collectors are willing to pay thousands for a genuine one, especially if it's in mint or near mint shape. You wouldn't believe how many people had this coin and spent it on a soda. One collector shared a heartbreaking story. Her father unknowingly used a rare double-die penny at a vending machine in 1999. He only realized what he'd lost after reading about it years later in a coin magazine. Once it's gone, it's gone. That kind of chance doesn't come around twice. Want to know if you've struck copper gold? Here's what to check. No mint mark under the date, that means it was made in Philadelphia. Look closely at the words, In God We Trust, and Liberty. The letters should appear doubled. The date, 1972, itself will also look blurry or doubled, especially the 9 and 2. The clearer the doubling and better the coin's condition, the more it's worth. Think you've got one? Don't guess, get it professionally graded by services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. You can also visit a trusted local coin dealer, but make sure they're reputable. Bring a magnifying glass and take your time. That old coin jar in your kitchen, the one your parents never threw away, it might just be holding a forgotten treasure, a piece of American history, and maybe your next big blessing. What if a penny from 1975, something you once dropped in a candy store, could be worth thousands today? Yes, thousands. And it's not just any penny, it's one with a mysterious mint mark and a secret story hiding in plain sight. An older gentleman from Denver, clearing out his late father's belongings, finds an old mason jar filled with pennies. Nothing special, just rusted coins, faded copper. But as he sifts through them, one catches his eye. A 1975 penny, with a tiny D under the date. He almost tosses it back, but something about it feels different. Fast forward 2 months, that same penny is authenticated and valued at nearly $2,500. So what makes the 1975 Lincoln penny special? Here's the truth. While most 1975 pennies are extremely common, the Denver Mint struck over $4.5 billion that year. Errors, variations, and condition can make a few stand out in a big way. Double dies, where the design was struck twice, creating a ghost-like effect, off-center strikes or clipped planchets, partial coins due to minting mistakes, high-grade uncirculated versions, flawless coins that somehow escaped circulation. One coin in mint state, MS-67 or better, with a visible error can fetch thousands. A woman from Kansas once paid for gas using loose change, not realizing one of those pennies was a rare 1975 D error. It later turned up at a coin show and was sold for $1,800. She had it sitting in a cup holder for years. She never knew. Don't let that be you. Double dates or letters, especially Liberty and In God We Trust, part of the coin missing, clipped edges, off-center designs. Condition matters, uncirculated, shiny, sharp details equals more valuable. Rare versions are worth 1000x face value, or more. Don't guess. Send your coin to PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, two of the most trusted grading companies. Or visit a reputable local coin dealer for a preliminary look. Think about it, that dusty jar in your attic, the old coffee tin your grandkids use for crafts, or even the coin you picked up at the grocery store, could be holding a piece of forgotten history. This isn't just about money. It's about memories. It's about rediscovering something simple, lost in time, now suddenly precious. What if a penny from 1976, yes, just one copper-colored coin you could have handed to the ice cream man, could now be worth thousands? Sounds impossible, right? But stay with me, because the story of the 1976 D Lincoln cent holds a secret even the sharpest collectors missed, and it could be sitting unnoticed in your change jar right now. Back in the summer of 1985, an elderly gentleman named Harold from Boulder, Colorado, was cleaning out his late brother's belongings. Tucked inside a rusty Folgers coffee can, among dozens of ordinary pennies, was a 1976 D Lincoln cent. It looked like nothing special, dull, a little worn, but something felt off. He tossed it in his pocket, walked it down to a local dealer just out of curiosity, and nearly fainted when the man offered him over $3,000 on the spot. Harold had unknowingly discovered one of the most elusive penny oddities in modern history. A small error with a big story. So what makes the 1976 D Lincoln cent so mysterious and valuable? It's not just the date, it's the errors and rare variations from that. Denver Mint batch. Some 1976 D pennies were double-struck, or featured off-center images. Others had die cracks, missing initials, or were minted on foreign planchets, blank coins meant for other countries. One of the most prized errors, a 1976 D Lincoln penny struck on a dime planchet, meaning it's smaller, thinner, and silver-colored, but with all the markings of a penny. Collectors pay thousands for these. Why? Because these mistakes weren't supposed to happen, and almost all of them were caught and destroyed. Almost. A woman once shared with me, tearfully, how her husband had a habit of saving weird coins. One day she got tired of the clutter and cashed them in at the local coin store. Weeks later, she read about the 1976 D error coins and realized he'd saved a few. Gone forever. Don't make that mistake. That penny you ignore today could be the story your grandchildren tell tomorrow. Look for the D mint mark just under the date, means it was minted in Denver. Check for errors, such as off-center strike double die. Look at the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust, missing designer initials. Look on the shoulder near Lincoln's bust for FG, penny struck on a dime planchet, will look silvery and smaller in diameter. Think you found one? Don't guess, get it verified. Send your coin to reputable graders like PCGS or NGC, or visit a local coin dealer with experience in error coins. They'll confirm authenticity and give you a certified grade. Crucial if you ever decide to sell that old coffee tin in your attic, the dusty jar on the windowsill. They hold more than coins, they hold stories, they hold moments. From when your father bought his first Coke, or when you counted pennies for your very first baseball glove. What if a penny from 1976, yes, just one copper-colored coin you could have handed to the ice cream man, could now be worth thousands? Sounds impossible, right? But stay with me, because the story of the 1976 D Lincoln cent holds a secret even the sharpest collectors missed, and it could be sitting unnoticed in your change jar right now. Back in the summer of 1985, an elderly gentleman named Harold from Boulder, Colorado, was cleaning out his late brother's belongings. Tucked inside a rusty Folgers coffee can, among dozens of ordinary pennies, was a 1976 D Lincoln cent. It looked like nothing special, dull, a little worn, but something felt off. He tossed it in his pocket, walked it down to a local dealer just out of curiosity, and nearly fainted when the man offered him over $3,000 on the spot. Harold had unknowingly discovered one of the most elusive penny oddities in modern history. A small error with a big story. So what makes the 1976 D Lincoln cent so mysterious and valuable? It's not just the date, it's the errors and rare variations from that. Denver Mint Batch. Some 1976 D pennies were double-struck, or featured off-center images. Others had die cracks, missing initials, or were minted on foreign planchets, blank coins meant for other countries. One of the most prized errors, a 1976 D Lincoln penny struck on a dime planchet, meaning it's smaller, thinner, and silver-colored, but with all the markings of a penny. Collectors pay thousands for these. Why? Because these mistakes weren't supposed to happen, and almost all of them were caught and destroyed. Almost. A woman once shared with me, tearfully, how her husband had a habit of saving weird coins. One day she got tired of the clutter and cashed them in at the local coin store. Weeks later, she read about the 1976 D error coins and realized he'd saved a few. Gone forever. Don't make that mistake. That penny you ignore today could be the story your grandchildren tell tomorrow. Look for the D mint mark just under the date, means it was minted in Denver. Check for errors, such as off-center strike double die. Look at the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust, missing designer initials. Look on the shoulder near Lincoln's bust for FG, penny struck on a dime planchet, will look silvery and smaller in diameter. Think you found one? Don't guess, get it verified. Send your coin to reputable graders like PCGS or NGC, or visit a local coin dealer with experience in error coins. They'll confirm authenticity and give you a certified grade. Crucial if you ever decide to sell that old coffee tin in your attic, the dusty jar on the windowsill. They hold more than coins, they hold stories, they hold moments. From when your father bought his first Coke, or when you counted pennies for your very first baseball glove. What if I told you a single penny from 1978, the kind you might have found in your blue jeans or between the couch cushions, could be worth hundreds, maybe even thousands today, simply because it's missing one tiny detail? You might have already spent it, or maybe it's still sitting in that dusty jar on your dresser, waiting to change your life. It was a crisp fall afternoon when 72-year-old George Wilkins, a retired schoolteacher from Ohio, decided to finally roll up the pennies that had sat untouched in an old coffee can since the 80s. That he wasn't a collector. Just a sentimental soul who couldn't toss away Honest Abe. As he sifted through the dull copper coins, one stood out. Not because it was shiny, but because it wasn't. It looked ordinary, worn, but there was no mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just the date, 1978. Little did George know, that forgotten cent could be one of the rarest errors of that decade. In 1978, all Lincoln cents minted in Philadelphia shouldn't have had a mint mark, and yet, finding one without any mark is still surprisingly scarce. Why? Because coins from Philadelphia that year were mass-produced, but the majority entered circulation fast and hard, wearing down and vanishing into time. However, some 1978 pennies with crisp details and no mint mark, especially in high grades or with unique striking errors, have drawn serious interest from collectors. Why? Because error coins from this era, especially with die misalignments, double strikes, or off-center mintings, are extremely hard to find in good shape. And when one does surface, it's like digging up a relic from another time. There's a heartbreaking story about a young man who sold off his late grandfather's coin collection at a garage sale, pennies, nickels, silver dollars, all for just $50. A coin dealer later examined one of those pennies and valued it at over $1,200. Why? A rare 1978 no mint mark Lincoln cent, with a unique die crack and pristine luster. He never got that coin back, and to this day, he says it wasn't about the money. It was the feeling that a piece of his grandfather's story walked away for less than a tank of gas. So, how do you know if you have one? Here's what to check: look for 1978 on the front, obverse, of the penny there should be no mint mark under the date. Crisp details, strong strike, worn ones are common, but collectors want sharp edges. Check for signs of doubling, die cracks, or off-center strike on the Lincoln Memorial. Copper pennies from this era should have a reddish-brown tone, a full red one in mint state. That's gold to collectors. If you think you've got something special, don't guess. Get it graded by reputable services like PCGS or NGC, or take it to a trusted local coin dealer. Not every old coin is rare, but the ones that are, they're treasures hiding in plain sight. Think about it, that old jar in your kitchen, that box in your attic, it might just hold a penny that carries more than value. It carries history, memory, and maybe even a little bit of destiny. Don't let the past slip through your fingers. What if a single penny from 1978, a coin you might have passed over on the sidewalk, could buy you a new refrigerator today, or even cover your mortgage? That's not a fantasy. It's a fact. One rare version of the 1978 Lincoln penny has stunned collectors, and it could be hiding in your spare change, your junk drawer, or that old mason jar in your kitchen. Let me take you back. The year was 1978. Jimmy Carter was president. Gas cost 63 cents a gallon. And if you were like most folks, you probably had a few pennies jingling in your pocket as you headed to the hardware store, maybe for some nails or a roll of duct tape. A retired railroad worker in Colorado, sorting through a coffee can of coins his grandson found in the garage, stumbles on a single 1978 penny. Worn but still sharp. He almost tosses it aside. But something, maybe the way the light hit it, makes him pause. It led to a coin appraisal, and a value in the thousands. Why? Because he'd found one of the rarest and most mysterious errors ever minted in Denver that year. So, what makes this humble 1978 Lincoln penny so special? While 1978 pennies are common, some rare examples have off-center strikes, double dies, or even missing initials from the coin designer, Victor D. Brenner. There are also a few ultra-rare 1978 coins struck on the wrong planchet, like a dime planchet, making them thinner, lighter, and slightly off in color. These errors weren't supposed to happen. But they did. And only a handful are known to exist. Collectors have paid hundreds to thousands for authenticated versions of these coins. My dad always kept a little velvet pouch of odd-looking coins. When he passed, I didn't think much of it. I spent them at a vending machine. Weeks later, he saw one of our videos. One of those coins. It matched the description of a 1978 error penny worth over $2,000. Friends, sometimes history isn't in a museum. It's in our homes, our drawers, our memories. Double image on Lincoln's face or lettering, double die, missing, VDB, initials near Lincoln's shoulder struck on a dime or foreign planchet, lighter weight, different color. Think you might have one? Don't guess. Verify. Reach out to trusted grading services like PCGS or NGC, or take your coin to a reputable local coin dealer. An appraisal could turn that penny into a payday. We all carry little pieces of the past with us. Sometimes, they're just forgotten pennies in an old box. But other times, they're keys to forgotten history and unexpected fortune. That old jar in your kitchen? It might just hold your future. Subscribe to Timeless Treasures, where we help you find history hiding in plain sight. What if I told you that a single penny, the kind you might have found in your grandchild's piggy bank or stuck between couch cushions, could be worth hundreds, maybe even more? And it all comes down to one small mistake made in 1979. Picture this, it's 1982. An old man in Denver pays for a coffee with exact change. The last coin he drops is a 1979 Lincoln penny. He doesn't think twice. After all, it's just 1 cent, but unknown to him, that very coin had a flaw, a rare error, a silent anomaly, a whisper from the U.S. Mint that would one day catch the eye of sharp collectors. That coffee? It cost him what might have been a small fortune. You see, some of these 1979 Lincoln cents, minted in Denver, were struck using a mismatched die, leading to a few rare versions with odd features, doubling, and inconsistencies that today have collectors searching high and low. So what makes the 1979 Lincoln penny so special? most 1979 D pennies are just worth their face value, 1 cent. But some were struck with errors. These mistakes weren't meant to happen, but they did. And when errors make it past the mint's watchful eye, they become gold for collectors. The Denver D may appear doubled, slightly overlapping, or ghosted, like it was stamped twice. These are raised lumps on the coin caused by cracked dies, unintentional but incredibly valuable. If Lincoln's face is too far to one side, that's an error, and collectors love these oddities. Some verified versions of these coins have sold for over $250, depending on condition and error type. Let me tell you a painful story. A gentleman from Nebraska emailed our coin club last year. He'd been collecting loose change for 30 years. Found a 1979 D penny with a strange-looking D and thought it looked funny. He gave it to his nephew for a school project. That nephew spent it at a vending machine for a candy bar. 3 months later, he learned it was likely an RPM variety, worth upwards of $400 in mint condition, gone forever. 1 cent spent. A lesson learned the hard way. Don't let that be you. Look for the D mint mark, Denver Mint, under the date. Check for doubling on the D. It may look blurry or layered. Look for raised lines or cracks, especially near the edges. Die breaks. Flip the coin. Lincoln's bust should be crisp. Any misalignment could mean value. If you think you have something special, visit pcgs.com or ngccoin.com. Their trusted grading services, or take it to a local coin dealer for a hands-on opinion. Never clean the coin, it ruins value. What if that old penny in your junk drawer could pay your mortgage today? Yes, you heard me right. One single 1980 Lincoln cent, something you might have dropped on the sidewalk without a second thought, could be worth hundreds, even thousands. And the mystery? It all starts with a tiny letter, P. Let me take you back. It was late autumn in 2003. An older gentleman named Frank, a retired postal worker from Ohio, was sorting through his late father's coin jars. The same dusty jars that had sat untouched since the Reagan years. He wasn't a collector, just sentimental. As he sifted through them, remembering the clang of coins on his father's nightstand, one copper penny caught his eye. It had the date 1980, nothing unusual, but there it was, a tiny P mint mark just under the year. Now here's the twist. There shouldn't be a P on a 1980 penny, not from the Philadelphia Mint, not in 1980. But there it was. Frank nearly threw it back into the pile, until curiosity got the better of him. He took it to a local coin dealer, and walked out with a check that stunned him. So what makes this penny so special? Here's the truth: the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia didn't put mint marks on pennies in 1980. The first official P mint mark on a U.S. 1-cent coin appeared years later. If you have a 1980 penny with a P, it could be a rare error die variety, or even a deliberate test strike that slipped into circulation. Collectors believe only a handful may exist, and their value? That depends on condition, certification, and just how clean that P is. A woman from Indiana wrote into our channel last year. She had a 1980 penny with a strange mark, but she thought it was a scratch and spent it at a gas station, gone forever. Can you imagine the regret? That tiny coin might have covered her grandchild's college textbooks. So listen closely, because this is not the penny you want to ignore. A clear P under the date, no signs of tampering or engraving. It should be struck, not scratched. Make sure Lincoln's details, like the initials VDB on the shoulder, are crisp. If the penny looks uncirculated, shiny red copper, its value could skyrocket. If you think you found one, don't clean it, don't even rub it. Instead, send it to PCGS or NGC Professional Grading Services, or visit a trusted coin dealer in your area. Ask if they're familiar with mint mark anomalies. Take clear, lit photos before sending it anywhere. Maybe you inherited an old coffee can full of change, maybe there's a forgotten jar in your attic, or coins tucked away in a drawer, a coat pocket, or even a child's piggy bank. What if your future is sitting in a penny from your past? Don't let history, or fortune, slip through your fingers. What if the penny your grandchild just dropped on the kitchen floor could be worth hundreds, even thousands, of dollars? Not tomorrow. Not someday. But right now, let me tell you a little story. In 1997, a retired schoolteacher in Indiana, Margaret Evans, bless her heart, was sorting through her late husband's old coin jar. Just pennies, mostly. She wasn't looking for treasure, just trying to feel close to him again. She almost threw out a handful, until she noticed something odd. A 1981 penny. Clean. Crisp, but no mint mark. No little D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just Lincoln. Staring back, she held on to it. Had it looked at, and it changed everything. That ordinary coin turned out to be extraordinary, and brought her more than just money. It brought her peace. Purpose. A reminder that sometimes, the past still has gifts to give us. So why is the 1981 no mint mark Lincoln cent so special? Let me break it down for you. Plain and simple. In 1981, most pennies were struck in Philadelphia, which normally didn't place a mint mark on its coins. But here's the twist. The mint was transitioning to a new engraving process that year. Most coins got small changes, sharper lettering, different designer initials. But in that shuffle, some rare 1981 Lincoln cents were struck using old dies, or with unusual errors that make them stand out today, especially if the coin is in unusually good condition. Point 1 in particular, the 1981 Type 2 reverse with no mint mark, is especially desirable. Combine that with pristine condition, and you've got a rarity that collectors will pay top dollar for. Now, let me tell you what breaks my heart. In 2004, a man at a flea market sold a shoebox full of junk change for $5. Later, the buyer found two rare no-mint 1981 Lincoln cents, worth over $600 each. He tried to track the seller down. Never could, and the man who sold it, he probably never knew what he gave away. If you're wondering if you have one of these hidden gems, here's what to check. Look just below the date. If there's no letter at all, that's what you want. Check the Lincoln Memorial design. Sharp, clean lines could mean it's a Type 2 reverse, which is rarer. Coins with clear detail, little to no wear, and a copper shine are worth the most. Think you found one? Don't guess, get it verified. Trusted grading services like PCGS or NGC can certify your coin's value, and protect you from getting scammed. You can also visit a local coin dealer, or reach out to online collectors groups. Trust your instincts, but always double-check. What if a single penny sitting in your kitchen drawer right now could be worth $15,000? Yes, just one little coin, barely worth a gumball back in the day, could change your story. This isn't a myth. This is the mystery of the 1982 no mint mark Lincoln cent, and it could be hiding in plain sight. It was a quiet Saturday morning in Ohio when an older gentleman named Harold, a retired mailman and lifelong coin jar keeper, decided to finally clean out the old cigar box in his garage. The box hadn't been touched since the 80s. Dusty buffalo nickels, wheat pennies, old gum wrappers, and there it was, a plain 1982 penny. Nothing special, or so he thought. A week later, he sat stunned in his living room, as a coin dealer told him that tiny copper coin was worth more than his car. You see, Harold had stumbled upon one of the rarest errors in modern coinage, a coin so quietly unique, even lifelong collectors have chased it for decades. So what makes this 1982 penny special? Let's break it down. In 1982, the U.S. Mint made a big change. They shifted from solid copper pennies to a cheaper zinc core with a thin copper coating. But during this transition, multiple versions of the penny were struck, including an extremely rare version with no mint mark and a solid copper composition. Why is this a big deal? Pennies from Philadelphia should have no mint mark, but by 1982, that was routine, nothing new. The kicker is this. One batch of copper pennies was accidentally struck with the wrong die and left with no mint mark, when it absolutely should have had one. Only two confirmed examples of this 1982 Denver, no mint mark copper penny have surfaced, and both are worth a small fortune. Many people have spent these pennies. Some tossed them into charity jars, some dropped them in vending machines, never knowing what they had. There's even a rumored story of a college student in the 90s who paid for a soda with a 1982 copper penny, only for the shop owner to resell it years later, for $10,000. Don't let that be your story. Date must be 1982, not 1982 just 1982 with no mint mark. Weigh it. The copper penny should weigh 3.11 grams, not 2.5 grams like zinc. Check with a magnet. It should not stick, zinc ones don't either, but it helps rule out fakes. Look closely, make sure the mint mark is truly missing and not worn off. Use a precision scale, many hobby shops will help. Or grab one online once you find a candidate. Don't clean it, that could destroy its value. Instead, get it verified by a professional like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. They can confirm its authenticity and grade it officially for resale or safekeeping. That old jar in your kitchen, the coffee can in your dad's garage, the loose change your grandkids play with, it might just hold your family's forgotten fortune, a simple penny that tells a story, and writes a new one.